And so I really just want to start by kind of outlining where we are and how we really got into a situation in which Palestinians' collective struggle for liberation, self-determination and return is actually being depicted as a problem of hatred in the face of a relentless campaign determined to erase our existence. As we all know, over a year ago, Israel's occupation forces began to target every facet of Palestinian existence in Gaza. Our hospitals, schools, universities, mosques, churches, homes, enacting their declared promise to eliminate everything. A population of 2 million people, the majority of them children and grandchildren of those who were forcibly made homeless during the creation of the State of Israel between 1947 and 1949, have now been made homeless once again, forced to experience this ongoing Nakba day after day. Over 42,000 Palestinians have been killed, with scholars estimating the true death toll to be 186,000 or more. And yet, there's been no ceasefire. 1 year on, despite the atrocities carried out by Israeli military forces and Israel's actions in Gaza being widely acknowledged as genocidal, including at the International Court of Justice, no decisive break has been made with Israel by our government or indeed by our public institutions. And over this past year, I kept on thinking at key moments, surely now people are going to stop what is happening. The first communications blackout in Gaza, the targeting of Gaza's hospitals, the complete destruction of Shifa Hospital, the torture and rape of Palestinian prisoners, over 17,000 children killed. And last week, we saw a young boy on an IV drip burning in a tent, having been targeted. The extent to which Palestinian lives are considered to be of less value by British politicians, by the mainstream media, and by many workplaces in Britain is all too clear. In every quarter, Palestinians are delegitimised and dehumanised, while the long-standing history of Palestinian oppression is silenced and erased. And what's perhaps even more concerning is a wavering among those who have said, historically, that they were friends and allies for many years. Today, then, we're living in an even more hostile environment than usual, with efforts to conflate anti-Semitism and legitimate criticism of the laws, policies and constitutional order of Israel, threatening the fundamental rights of Palestinians, including British Palestinians, to describe their lived experience and the rights also of others who wish to advocate with us. At Makan, and we're an educational organisation providing educational workshops and resources to support people who want to speak out on Palestine, we've been inundated with requests by people who are refusing to accept that they should not speak up for freedom, justice and dignity. British Palestinians are being told that they need time off work because they're making their colleagues uncomfortable. Employees are being told they cannot wear symbols of Palestinian identity or solidarity. Teachers are being told that they shouldn't talk about Palestine and even to report students to Prevent. Palestinian artists and their allies are being censored and deplatformed. And activists are being told that their protests are being fueled by hatred. We can see the racist logic at play in the power dynamics and language being played out in Parliament, in media and in the workplace, day after day. When talking about Palestine is called controversial, when terms like genocide, ethnic cleansing, apartheid are dubbed inflammatory or offensive. Most recently, there was a case in Camden where a banner saying genocide they were asked to take it down because it was causing offence. And we see it in the depiction of calls for Palestine to be free from the river to the sea as totally beyond the pale. There is, as we've been just hearing in the main hall, a responsibility for everyone across the solidarity movement, in trade unions and other social justice and liberation groups, to stand firm against such attacks. How then, you might ask, could Palestinian civil society take issue with projects promoting coexistence, peace building and dialogue? Surely any initiative that is bringing people together must be a positive development. Well, Palestinians are very tired of trying to persuade people that they are human too. In a world where Palestinians are relentlessly dehumanized and the struggle for liberation is demonized, we need to properly spell out the structures of oppression in order to dismantle them. For decades, the dominant political discourse in the global north has situated Palestine within a conflict paradigm. Palestinians and Israelis are conceived of as two sides in an age-old ethno-national religious conflict over land. This fails to take into account key historical facts or to identify root causes. Since the early 1990s, successive Middle East political initiatives have failed to bring about a just peace and the realization of Palestinians' inalienable rights to self-determination and the right of return of refugees, because there's been a reliance on unilateral US initiatives and the adoption of peacemaking models designed to resolve ethnic or religious conflict that have not only been inappropriate and ineffective, but actually harmful. Models which fail to treat Israel as an occupying power and apartheid regime and do not seek to hold it accountable for its violations of international law. As a result, Israel has been able to continue to colonize Palestinian land, to become more explicit about its expansionist goals, while the rhetoric of a supposed peace process with its humanitarian, economic, people-to-people approaches, which require the oppressed to come to the table in order to be further oppressed, has been deeply entrenched. These programs rely on a misapplication of contact theory, which emerged in the 1950s, designed to tackle mutual prejudice between communities. While its original proponents argued that mutual stereotyping could be overcome through intergroup contact, the equal status of the groups was a prerequisite and not an outcome of the process. By presenting Israel's military occupation, apartheid regime, and dispossession of the Palestinians as an ethnic religious conflict, and ignoring the fundamental asymmetry of power between the two peoples, these programs contribute to delegitimizing the application of international law while normalizing Israel's structural violence and oppression of Palestinians, leading to a mindset that makes occupation, apartheid, and settler colonialism, even genocide, seem normal, instead of supporting Palestinians to end the horrifically abnormal conditions and structures of oppression that they face. That's why political education is so important, why it's so crucial for people to build their knowledge about the history of the Palestinian struggle and the realities on the ground. So what does meaningful solidarity look like? We've heard a bit already about it in the main hall. It means centering Palestinian knowledge production, not only so we can tell our family histories, our personal stories of dispossession and displacement, or our lives under military assault, but so that we can speak unapologetically about the struggle for liberation. It means using language that acknowledges the Palestinian struggle as an anti-racist struggle that is deeply interconnected with other social justice and liberation movements. And it means resisting the chilling effect of hostile policies and practices that close down critical thinking and political education by weaponizing the very notion of safeguarding, to the extent that our public institutions and other workplaces are more concerned about protecting people who are upset by the use of the terms like apartheid, ethnic cleansing, and genocide than protecting those who are suffering the devastating impact of these very real policies and practices. So if you want your solidarity to be meaningful, don't be cowed by the hostile environment or persuaded into participating into tokenistic gestures. be mindful of projects that seek to sidetrack people away from the history of Palestinian oppression and refuse to engage in initiatives that don't recognise the inalienable UN-affirmed rights of the Palestinian people as set out in Palestinian Civil Society's BDS call, which you're going to hear about much more eloquently from Omar. And it means only agreeing to participate in joint activities involving Israelis and Palestinians if they constitute a form of co-resistance against Israel's regime of occupation, settler colonialism, and apartheid. Genuine solidarity means being part of a community that is not only well-informed, interconnected, and empowered, but actively committed to bringing about the material conditions for Palestinians to live in freedom, justice, and dignity. Thank you.